What is up, YouTube? Welcome to Panfro Games, and here we are with another daily dose of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet news and leaks updates to share with you all today. And today's a massive episode because we got confirmation of even more paradox forms, so more ancient and more future forms of Pokemon, even more information on other forms of Pokemon, and some story details relating to a potential third legendary. Of course, guys, if you like these types of videos, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. And to begin, we're going to talk about the terraforms first, actually, which is the new mechanic for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Essentially, a Pokemon can turn into one of the 18 types, and they'll gain a bonus stab move to it. And they also get this crystalline form with a hat that correlates to the type that they turns into. So we got Quaxley that turned into a water type, so it's gonna get double stab on its water moves. But it's wearing this hat, and the important thing on this water fountain hat here is this little crystal icon right on the middle of the hat. And it's a crystal, it has two eyes, menacing eyes, and this is related actually to a third legendary that was recently confirmed by Kaka and by Riddler Coup. So Kaka says here, regarding a third legendary, the details are undecided, maybe the DLC. And then Riddler Coup says, explains the face on the base of Tera ornaments. So we learned two very important things here. One, the Tera forms are related to the third legendary. So there is a third legendary in this trio. It was confirmed in the base game that this third legendary is not exist. However, this is what the DLC story is going to be about. It's going to be explaining the Tera phenomenon because we don't actually know why it's happening. We just know, okay, use these crystals with the Pokemon. They turn into crystals. You can change their type. But lore-wise, we don't actually know why it's happening, and we won't know in November because this is going to be related to the DLC. I'm going to assume there's going to be two DLCs, so hopefully this is answered in the first DLC, and we're going to be getting the third legendary in that DLC as well. I think that's going to be super interesting that the main game does not actually fully explain the new mechanic to us in the sense of the lore, which is actually sort of unheard of in a Pokemon game. Even Dynamax and Gigantamax was explained in Sword and Shield before the DLC. We also learned about some brand new paradox forms. Paradox forms are the new keyword related to the ancient and future species. Ancient Pokemon are only in Pokemon Scarlet. Future species are only in Pokemon Violet, so these are going to be your version exclusives. If you are unsure what those are, we have a great description here. These Pokemon don't evolve, they are standalone Pokemon, but they have super high stats. Think of them as like Ultra Beasts essentially, and they're going to be really strong, but you can have a first form Pokemon like a Jigglypuff be a Paradox form, and it won't evolve into a Wigglytuff, but it's going to have insanely high stats, maybe like 600 BST, essentially like a legendary Pokemon, but not actually one. We also know about the Convergent Species, which is essentially like a Mimikyu to Pikachu, a Pokemon that wants to be another Pokemon, but the typing is completely different. Previously, we actually learned about a bunch of the Paradox forms. We only had a few questionable ones that we weren't sure about. Riddler Coup has now said there is 3 Paradox pseudo origins. They missed the one before. So the 2 that we knew before was Salamence and Tyranitar. They are version exclusives, both of them. It is believed to be that Salamence is going to be in Scarlet and Tyranitar is going to be in Violet, which is really hype because we could get like a Mecha Godzilla type of Pokemon, which would be sick, and I'll totally buy Violet over Scarlet just because of that. But now there is a third. So one of these versions is definitely going to be getting 2 pseudo legendaries, while the other version is only going to get 1. And I'm sure that's going to affect a lot of people's decision making here. But we're not 100% sure on what it exactly is, but we do have some ideas on what it could be. Then Riddler Coup actually tells us all 16 Paradox Pokemon coming to Scarlet and Violet. And for Pokemon Scarlet, he says Boss A, Moth, Mushroom, Mag, Chinese Symbol, Balloon, Wizard S. And then in Violet says Boss B, Moth, Pigtails, Sumo, Chinese Symbol, Santa, and V. So that's our 16 Pokemon, our hints for them. And he says all 16 here are maybe less because he told you. Also, boxes are Paradox too. But would you count Solgaleo and Lunala as Ultra Beasts? If so, then there will be 18. So he's saying Koraidon and Miraidon are Paradox Pokemon, which actually means that there is a present day version of these Pokemon as well, which could potentially actually be the third legendary is the present day, or maybe the present day one eventually turns into Koraidon and Miraidon by using the Paradox effect on it. However, the list that Riddler Coup gave us includes a DLC Pokemon for both Scarlet and Violet. So technically there's only 7 in Scarlet, 7 in Violet, and the additional extra is Suicune is going to be in Pokemon Scarlet. Suicune's getting a past form. Virizion is getting a future form for Pokemon Violet. And then Riddler-Coup gave us even more information about Tauros' regional form. If you didn't know, Tauros is actually receiving 3 regional forms and base Tauros is in the game. So there's going to be 4 Tauros in the game. And we knew that one of the Tauros was going to be a pure fighting type and the other 2 Tauros are going to be dual types. We did not know what their types are going to be, but now we know what the colors of the bulls are going to be. So there's a black bull, there's a red bull, and there's a blue bull. So I'm going to make an educated guess that the black bull is probably going to be the pure fighting type. And I'm going to guess that this is the one that is going to be based on the Minotaur. And then there's a red bull, which is a dual type. So obviously when we're thinking of a red bull, this could be a fire type. And I want to guess a fire steel type because when we look at Tauros, Tauros does have the metal dots. He does have metal horns already. I can easily see Tauros being like red hot with anger, you know, so he gets super mad, but he can turn that red hot angerness into fire. And then he's already got some steel type motifs in his normal type form. So I can see a fire and steel bull. And potentially, because this game is an open world game, it's going to have a lot of different Pokemon in the overworld, the Tauros is going to be found in each quadrant of the map. So about each 4th of the map is going to have a different Tauros. So if we do come to like a desert or volcano region, I can see ourselves seeing the red Tauros there. There's also a blue bull too, which I'm going to guess is a water type Tauros. It sort of makes sense because there is a mythological creature called a Kelpie, which is essentially like a water horse / cow. So I could see Tauros getting a water type and being tied to that mythology. It could potentially have a ice typing to it as well, since this is going to be a dual type. Could be maybe, you know, water and dark, could be water and ice. I don't know. It could be water and steel, which would be phenomenal. If both of these end up being steel, that would be pretty crazy. And then the black bull would actually be able to beat up all 3 of them, which is really interesting to think about. Tauros does not get an evolution though. These are just regional forms. They are not any sort of paradox forms to them, by the way. And then Riddler-Coup states, our crocodile boy can't stand up. Trainers, time to riot. Well, apparently, Fuecoco's final form will be able to stand on 2 legs, not necessarily bipedal. I think it's going to be a Samurott situation where it's going to be on all 4s, but there is a time when it can stand on its 2 back legs and maybe like sing, because we know Fuecoco's final evolution is going to be based on like a music artist. And here we have a full outline of all the new paradox forms, new evolutions, new regional forms, and convergent species coming to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. And we know that there's only going to be 2 regional forms. We know we already seen the poison type Wooper, which is a poison ground Wooper, which is going to receive a brand new evolution. Is not going to be a regional Quagsire, but is going to be its own brand new Pokemon. And then we just talked about the 3 additional Tauros, 1 being pure fighting, 1 fire and maybe something else, and 1 water, maybe something else. This isn't hard confirmed on the fire and water, but I'm going to guess, like Centro guessed here, that the red one's going to be fire and the blue one's going to be water, but who knows? They could be really anything. We did learn about the new evolutions, that Primeape is getting a fighting and ghost evolution with an interesting evolution method. I think when Primeape dies, it like faints in battle, it will evolve. We also saw the leak of Giraffurge's evolution, which is apparently pure psychic. There is a new evolution for Dunsparce and Bisharp. Bisharp's evolution is still going to be dark and steel, and apparently Dunsparce's evolution is going to be pure normal, which is a little bit disappointing. I'm a big Dunsparce fan, but hey, that is what it is. And now for the big stuff here. All of our Pokemon Scarlet exclusive past Paradox Pokemon. We are going to get Jigglypuff, which looks like a little vampire. We're getting a Moongus, which looks like a spiky mushroom. There is Volcarona. Salamence is our pseudo for Scarlet. Donphan, Mischievous, and then Suicune is going to be a DLC legendary exclusive Pokemon for Pokemon Scarlet. We also have these 2 Pokemon we're unsure about here, but the one for Scarlet, the hint was Mag. So we're going to guess that this is referring to Magnezone is getting a Paradox form for Pokemon Scarlet. It could be Magnemite, could be Magneton, but it makes the most sense for it to be Magnezone, but we just don't know 100% sure. But I can't really think of another Pokemon that would fit the Mag part as related to a Magnet. Now for our Pokemon Violet Paradox forms here, our future forms, we get Delibird, which was the Santa hint. We get Gallade, which is apparently a fusion of Gallade and Gardevoir. We do not know the type of this Pokemon, but that does sound incredibly interesting to me. Volcarona is receiving both a past and a future form. Tyranitar is going to be the partner to Salamance's past form, so we're going to get future Tyranitar. Donphan is getting a both past and a future form. Then there's Hariyama getting a future form, and Virizion is the DLC Pokemon legendary for Pokemon Violet. And then there's the Chicken. The Chicken is actually related to the third pseudo-legendary that is getting a Paradox form. So yes, Pokemon Violet is getting 2 pseudo-legendary Pokemon. And when we think of Chicken, apparently, when we're looking at all the pseudo-legendaries, it can't be Salamence, it can't be Tyranitar. Those have already been taken out. There isn't a lot of options, but it looks like apparently it's going to be a future form of Goodra, which is really interesting because there is confirmed that Hisuian Goodra is going to be in the game, and I wonder if Hisuian Goodra is going to be a Pokemon Scarlet exclusive, and then the future Goodra will be here as well. And technically it could. It isn't a Paradox Pokemon though, so I don't know how that's going to work out, but they may divide up Goodra like that. It is the only pseudo-legendary Pokemon to already receive a Hisuian form, so they could just give it a future form here as well. And we also have the Convergent Species. We know that Diglett is going to be a water eel. So there is a water eel Pokemon that is pink that looks like Diglett, but it's not Diglett, and it is not a ground type. And then there is a mushroom that looks like Tentacool, which is not a water poison type. So that is all the confirmed new Pokemon so far. There could be more Convergent Species, but it looks like this is our final list for Paradox, Future, and Past. There's final forms for regional and final for evolutions, but Convergence, I think we're going to be getting more of these. Well, guys, let me know in the comment section below which version you most likely will get, Pokemon Scarlet or Violet, based on the past or future forms of Pokemon. I don't know, but I think I'm leaning towards Pokemon. It's hard because the DLC, I really want Suicune, but I love Tyranitar. This is a really hard one for me. I'm going to have to pick both, but I guess I'm going to go with Violet for now. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please leave a like on the video. Really appreciate it. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out and have a great one.